Name drop. So
Okay,
the premise is name drop, right?
Yeah.
And who better than you, Mr. Matt Pinfield, started off with some great name drops of like through the years, you know, all the guys you've run into.
But
I always see you
before,
with bands.
hold on a second. Before we get started, I have to say this because I was like, this is a great get because you're my MTV brother.
Yes,
you know, we were both
absolutely.
MTV VJs. You were obviously a god at MTV. But I'm thinking, Chris probably never met Matt before I get this because you left MTV what 99?
Yeah, 99.
1999, and I came in in 1999. I think my first pilot was 98. So I pick up your book because I like to do a lot of research just like you do. So I picked up your book and I read it, and so I'm getting almost all the way through the book, and then I get to like page 171. It says they flew me out to California on the same flight as Chris Kirkpatrick.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like, motherfucker,
Oh, yeah.
man. And from NSYNC, just to remind me of this pop world I was now inhabiting, Chris is a sweet guy, actually, and offered to drive me to my hotel when I realized I didn't have my license with me.
Michael Jackson style.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm sitting here going, I'm like, I know you know everybody.
Yeah.
I feel like you've manifested your entire career.
I think that's what it is, though. He knows everybody, all genres.
Yeah.
I always
You do
used
too.
to give him smack because
Yeah.
you'd always post like your favorite band or like the song of the day on your was it a Twitter
Or Instagram. Oh, one of
Instagram.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, one of those. You'd always post like one of your favorite songs and bands, and I'd always be texting him like, "Dude, no NSYNC there. What's
Yeah.
going on?" And he was like, "Dude, I'm trying to have friends."
No, there's no this. Not at all, man. You know what's amazing too is you know, there are sometimes when I hear certain pop music and I'm like, God, I miss the days of NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. Great songs.
Yeah.
And well performed, you know, like and well sung and well performed.
You said that in your book as well. Like you don't mind pop just because you're a
I
rock
love
guy.
pop. Oh yeah, I love
yeah.
pop, country. I listen to everything. You know, like that's the thing that people, I think, find surprising sometimes. And you know, even artists like that I meet later on in life, like Mike Campbell from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. There's your name drop. He said to me, he goes, "Man, I always thought you were like just this hard rock or metal guy." And like, you know, he goes, "You really know our stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I saw you guys live in 1978." You know, like
Wow.
you know, when I was in high school, I loved the first Tom Petty record, and nobody knew who they were, and they got no airplay in New York, so I ended up hearing a song on a compilation album that had all these punk rock bands, but it had Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
But your first,
Yeah.
you did Tom Petty and the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers at Madison Square Garden. But your first concert was with your parents, and you went to see Don McLean.
Don McLean, American Pie, which was not a great show. I love this song, but I remember
It's a great song for DJs because it's so long.
Yes,
Well,
it
and
is. It's a good bathroom song.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
His second hit really bumps too.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what
yeah, right, exactly. I mean, Vincent. Yeah, it was a Vincent Van Gogh song, which as a kid I didn't really relate to. I mean, I loved American Pie when I was young, but you know, I saw Tom Petty actually at this place called the New York Palladium, and I used to see so many bands there as a kid. And my brother would take me to shows. You know,
What's your brother's name?
My brother Glenn. Yeah,
It's just
so
his
there you go.
birthday, right?
He was in January.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
then it
I'm always
wasn't
saying
just-
somebody's my brother. Probably.
Oh yeah, that's probably what it was.
Yeah,
'Cause
you know,
it's funny. I was just looking.
well, it's a lot of Jersey guys, so it's always like
You guys
like
are,
Jersey brothers.
Hey, I know. Fatone's the same way. I meet
Yeah.
so many people. Hey, this is my cousin.
Yeah.
This is my brother. This is my cousin. I'm like, how many cousins do you have, bro?
Yeah, you're like Joey. What's
all
going
of
on?
Bensonhurst.
Yeah. Oh, they're all from the Bensonhurst area. But you know, I love all styles of music. I always have. Like, and you know, I do. Besides KLOS here, where I do a new rock show, I do a show 5 days a week. A lot of
KLOS,
times, yeah, KLOS and this station KCSN, which you can stream. It's called the SoCal Sound, and it's like, it seems that it's a lot of actors, musicians, writers listen to this. It's an independent public station, and Nick Harcourt used to be on KCRW mornings. Does the morning show there, but they called me up to do it. You know, the guy who put me on the radio with Leslie Fram, you know, from CMT in New York. He called me. He goes, "Dude, this station is perfect for you. You can really do what you want." So there's a lot of, you know, AAA artists, singer-songwriters on there, and some Americana, and then some like current, like, you know, things that are a little more electronic synth. But it's great because I just go all over the place there, and I do it, you know, literally. a lot of
But
times
you're an amazing storyteller. If I feel like you know everything that there is to know about music, and it started when you were just 3 years old.
Yeah.
Beatles fan.
Yeah, Beatles fan at 3, So, guys, it's funny. That story is like, that's my earliest memory. It's like being, we were, working class, poor family. I mean, my dad, my mom and dad's fathers died when they were very young. Like my
Dad George.
George, yeah, you know it. Yeah. So George, his dad died in a car crash when he was about 11 years old, 10 or 11, in Rahway, the same town as the Rahway State Prison. But they grew up in a town called Plainfield, where George Clinton was.
Wow.
I understand that, which is really cool. Yeah. So they both lost their dads really young. So and the reason I was born in Athens, Georgia, was my dad had got back from the Korean War, and he was a Marine officer, and but he was out there.
Is that where he met your mom, Nancy?
No, he met her when they were kids, 13 or 14, and they went on young kids dates, and then
Like putt golf. Or
something. Stuff like that. And the funny thing is, they kind of stayed in touch. She has letters that she wrote to her mother. I don't know, this guy George likes me, when she was like 13 or 14 or something. And
he was like 46.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
Weird.
Yeah, he's a little odd. No, but it's funny. They were the same age and went to the same school. But then he moved to California, went to high school here, and then eventually, joined the Marines. Because he lost his dad, like I said, at 11 in a car crash. And he had all sisters, so I think he just wanted to get out and get around some more men.
Yeah, get some,
get a little like alpha
there.
Masculinity or something.
But do you think? I mean, how weird is that? Because you guys moved from Athens, Georgia, to New Jersey when you were born in
really
Athens.
Little. Yeah, born in Athens,
and then you guys moved. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you grew up in Athens, Georgia, instead of going? Because you were in the mecca of music. If you think about it, with New York right there and Philadelphia.
Yeah, thank God I was there, because Athens, of course, had some great output with REM, B-52s, and there were some other bands there. But Fred Schneider, Indigo Girls were some great stuff, and I love them.
Fred Schneider,
closer to fine. Fred Schneider's from Jersey, so that's the funny thing. He used to go to me. Him and Michael Stipe would say to me, "I think you might be one of the only guys, born in Athens." It was just one of those deals.
But it was a hot place to go, not be born in.
Yeah, my dad was going to school in Fran Tarkenton, from Giants and Minnesota Vikings. Was his friend at school, and he took the first picture of me in the nursery with one of the early Polaroids. Which meant in those days you weren't in there. It was a very different time. So. You're taking the picture through the glass.
Right.
I'm in some plastic bed or something. It's
you were a big fan of vinyl, and that's one of your favorite things to do is go to the record store as a kid. And I feel like you've manifested your whole entire life because your idols you met and became friends with.
Yeah, it's insane. When I think about that.
The Ramones.
Yeah.
What's your relationship with the Ramones?
Well, Joey and I had become very close. Right up until he passed away, which is why I used to host those, cancer benefits for lymphoma at the Irving Plaza in New York, while his mom Charlotte was alive. But and everybody played him. The Strokes, Blondie, it was so cool, And it was, but yeah, Joey was great. The story, you read the book, so the story's funny. It's like, I'm in ninth grade, and I'm an Irish, English, Italian kid, right? I found out I was Italian from ancestry, but I'm like, when I talk like this, you must figure, what I mean?
Was it 23andMe? Is that what
did
you
it was
do
like
it?
that. Yeah, that's how I found out I was from.
I'm so scared to do that.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I knew I was English and Irish because my mom is 100% Irish.
Yeah.
My last name is English, Pinfield, right? So it's there's a lot of Pinfields in London and all over the UK. But I finally found out I had some Italian, and of course it made sense. It's Jersey. I have lots of Italian friends, which goes to the story that you read in there about how I discovered the Ramones.
Yep.
Which is, of course,
it's your birthday.
Yeah, it was my birthday, right, May 28th, and it was 76, and I was fighting with another little Irish guy, my friend Rich Ryan, who over a girl, right? We were fighting over this girl Sue. So guys, who sadly she's passed away. But it was a thing where we were fighting in the bathroom, which is just it's so absurd. But we got suspended, of course. So my dad had to come. He was a school teacher and he was like football coach, school teacher, and the audiovisual department, which ties in to everything as well. But he had to come pick me up embarrassingly at the junior high, and he's in the school system, so it's like these are the people that are part of that. So he wasn't that happy. And but Richie's dad shows up and he's like, whatever, because Richie's dad is a mobster, right? So,
Yeah.
right.
So did you get nervous at that? Because
I never knew that till years later. I used to go to his house and go,
I would have been like scared to go to
That's a good
school.
thing.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I would go to his house and go, oh, your dad is friends with Frank Sinatra? That's great. Like this person saying with Frank Sinatra on the wall, and the Gambinos and like all these mobsters. And his dad was like really like involved in the Copacabana, the famous dance place. And he showed me an article he sent me recently about how Bobby Darin had to go and apologize to those guys there because he was trying to go in there and do his folk thing, and they wanted Mac the Knife and be on the scene, man.
Right.
They weren't having it, they were shocked, So, but I love Reggie. We're still friends to this day. Those guys that I grew up with.
Did you think for one second that Matt Pinfield from, was it Middlesex, New Jersey?
Yeah, Middlesex County, New Jersey.
Middlesex County, New Jersey, that was going to end up getting on the radio for one, and two, like one in New Jersey, and then getting yourself to MTV?
No, I mean, I had no idea. I just knew that, like, I had to be, kind of fearless and naive because I love music so much that I'd go to shows and sneak backstage, as a kid.
Yeah.
Like I'd go see like Ian Hunter and Mick Ronson. Ian Hunter was in Moth the Hoople. Mick Ronson played with Bowie.
Yeah.
Through Ziggy Stardust and all that. And or I'd go backstage with Joe Jackson or somebody like that. And and when these bands were playing, like I'd run backstage to Gary Newman. When I was like 17, and I'd find out Gary Newman was staying with his parents at the Empire Hotel. Meanwhile, I'd be sitting there in the audience. Here's Andy Warhol in front of me and David Johansen from the New York Dolls. Who's busting.
So this was all coming out.
Yeah.
Like I would think about what was the movie with Cameron Crowe?
Oh yeah, Almost Famous.
Your life is just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
You were a Band-Aid.
But you played music too, right?
Well, I sang in bands,
Right.
so I was always in bands. So I love doing that. One time, and it might be in there too because I haven't had the book in a long time. But
It's in there.
yeah, but there's the whole thing where we were about 14, and
Do you have to reread the book when you lived the book?
no, not really. And
Or
the
is
best-
that one of those things that just
Yeah.
brings memories
Yeah.
back? Where you're like,
Do you know-
what was I doing? Oh yeah, thank God I wrote it down.
It's funny because I don't know which stories are in there, which ones aren't sometimes because there's so many. And my friend said to me, "Now that when you're sober 5 years, you're going to write the other book,
Yeah, right,
and
right.
tell some of the really
I think
stories.
one of the
you
stories.
feel like you've forgotten more than you've remembered.
Yeah,
Sometimes?
guys, the craziest one of all that goes back to MTV is I knew that I interviewed, Robert Plant and Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, right? And they were there. But I found out from my producer, Austin Redding, I was like at a barbecue at his house. And he goes, yeah, it was at that time you took Robert Plant record shopping. I'm like, I didn't dream that.
What? No.
I swear, I forgot that I took Robert Plant record shopping, and then it all came back in my head. I was like, "Oh, that's right." He was looking for like obscure folk, indie folk, and he said, "Oh, I've already been to Tower." So I go, "How about this place, Other Music, like on 4th and Broadway?" And I remember taking him in there. We took his car service down, and people are trying to pretend they don't see this.
What year was
tall,
this?
Probably like 97, 98, and they were doing like, that unleaded, they were doing a couple different things, like walking into Clarkdale. And it was, it was funny because Austin's like, no, dude, you and Robert Plant were in the corner laughing, talking about music and shit. I'm like, I go, I did a lot of partying back then.
Yeah.
So
But
maybe you don't believe
they called
together.
you though. I mean, that was like
Yeah.
one of the things that I was reading was that you and there's. When I met you through Steve Kingston. I got to give him a shout out.
Yeah, we love Steve Kingston.
Steve
Oh my
Kingston,
God.
yeah.
I stay in touch. Steve Kingston is also in so many ways.
a program director.
He was the program director at Z100, and then he went to K-Rock
K-Rock.
when Howard Stern wanted to go alternative rock and get out of classic rock. So the first thing I think that Howard said to him was, "Well, you should talk up to Pinfield over there or somebody." And but Steve already had the idea. So I remember he was doing some work on his computer at Clear Channel at the time, which is now iHeart, I think. And then they found out he was leaving, and he was so they gave him a restraining order not to go. He couldn't go for a certain amount of time over into
Like a cease and desist.
CBS.
Yeah. He couldn't go there.
So he pulled up in like a car with Sam Milkman, another.
Oh yeah, Sam Milkman. Yeah.
I love Sam. He's some
Music
Philly,
director.
and he was a music director. And he came, and he's like, dude, it was like very covert. It was very mob. Like it was almost like because they were not supposed to be doing any business for that at that point. But that was after they had already, done that thing where they said he couldn't, do any business in the building because he was leaving. He'd given in his notice, and he goes, he pulls up. He goes, I get in the car, and he goes, I'm going to put you on a long leash. He goes, so dude, I want you to. He goes, and he's the best. I love Steve.
Yeah, Steve's great.
So much.
He's like, hey man.
Yeah.
Hey, talk to me, Manny. What's up, Manny?
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
he introduces me because you wanted it. You were at MTV and you wanted to get some shifts in. And he's like, he's like Altar Boy. My name was Altar Boy on the radio, on rock radio, on K Rock. And he's like, hey, just show Matt around the studio. And I'm like, this is so cool. The guy from 120 Minutes is here.
Yeah.
And then a year later, I was at MTV. But I thought that was cool. But you have always were the nicest, sweetest. And then here I'm reading this book, and every rock star wants to be around you. They know you because they have a lot of love and respect for you because you know their music and you dig their music and you're not full of shit.
Yeah. And you're knowledgeable about the music.
Yeah.
That's the best part about it is, and being a musician, once you talk to somebody like that isn't just talking at you about like names and facts and but really dives deep into it, which you definitely do. And you can tell you are a musician in your heart because you get it. You get it. And that's, I think, what we bonded about.
Yeah. I
flying
did.
and just talking about it.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious too, so you've got the Robert Plant story. There's got to be some other stories where somebody's come up to you and told you a story where you're like, wait, I met that person? It's like you forget.
Yeah, there's so many things that, at times I forgot. Like I forgot to put in the book when we did this concert for Wayne Kramer, for this organization, Road Recovery. He just recently passed away from the MC5. But there was this big tribute concert, and I had already announced on my morning show and on RXP in New York that I was going into rehab again. And so, but I was also that.
Well, shout out rehab.
Yeah, shout out.
Should have been your book
There'll be
title.
many
Going into
rehabs.
rehab
Yes, exactly. Well, there's still time for that.
Wait, how long you been sober?
I've been sober 4 years and 3 months. Yeah,
there we go.
At the time. So, and I love it, man. Because now I'm helping people, and I drifted in and out of recovery for a long time. I just, I'd get some time, but I just couldn't totally grasp it. So it finally happened for me when all these musicians, and my friend, during the pandemic, it was crazy. We, I started, drinking again at that period of time. There were no AA meetings. Oh, I'm not supposed to mention AA, but I mean, it's all right. Well, because it's
we'll
recovery.
Bleep that out.
Yeah, no, whatever. Everybody
There were
knows
no
what it
beep
is.
meetings.
But no, recovery meetings.
It's a car service.
Right. Yeah, but it's a car service.
Triple A, double A. This is double A.
What was a car service? It's called Communicar. And
that's what we had. Remember the vouchers we used to get?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, Van Telfer said to me recently, I think you used more of those vouchers than just about anyone. I'm like,
I think Carson and I have the record.
Yeah.
I remember when I had
think
to
I'm
give...
right. I'm probably right under you and Carson then.
Yo, 100%. They ended up giving me a card.
Use
This was a card. Then Carson had a permanent driver. Then I got one. I was like, this is the greatest thing in the history of ever. I mean, you're like, wait, you're gonna just wait for me here?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I go from being a guy who's like, had drove through snowstorms part time to do radio in New Jersey to eventually 6 years later becoming music director. That's when the industry at HTG, in Asbury Park area, started to say, who is this guy? And then because I was looking for reasons to play bands and expose artists, not to play them. That was the difference, I really cared and loved music so much. I didn't, so I was never had that gatekeeper attitude, I mean, I was real of course you have to, there's some things you just know that aren't right for your station, you don't play. But for me, I was always looking for a reason to help bands and artists. And it was one of those things where once I got to know a lot of people in the industry, within a year, I'd won that Gavin Award, which is the radio award for commercial alternative music director of the year. And it was never really won by anyone.
That was in Jersey.
But it was for the country.
Oh, for the country. Yeah.
So it was in San Francisco. They used to have it every year at the Westin St. Francis. Every format. And it was first of all, it was a shock when I won the first year. Then I won it 2 years in a row, and I was like, I felt really like, guilty somebody else didn't win it, because it was like, why am I getting this? And I was like, this belongs to everybody, which is how I felt. But once I think I had an into the industry, other than all the other things I'd kind of been doing and piecing together, just out of drive and my love for music, that changed everything. And then eventually, I ended up getting the fill-in spot at MTV, to do 120
with
minutes.
Louis Largent.
Yeah, with Depeche Mode. Louis wasn't hosting yet.
No, he wasn't. But it was.
But Louis was part of why I got hired. Him and Kirkpatrick and Andy Warhol.
The craziest thing is you know everything about music, and they gave you this shot. It was in '93.
Yeah, '93.
Yeah.
I went in for an audition, guys, with a ripped Morrissey Kill Uncle shirt on. Like, I forgot. My friend goes, "Yeah, dude, I drove you, and you had like a ripped shirt on, like a hole in it." It's total a radio guy,
Did you think
It wasn't for the look either.
Yeah, right. It wasn't
because
for
you
the
had
look.
a hole in
Yeah,
it.
it's because I had a hole in it.
they threw you to the wolves? They're like, okay, we'll give you your shot. This is your shot. This with Depeche
Yeah,
Mode.
I did one audition. What happened was, and I've said it before, but I, people may not know, is I got to meet the people from the music department, which was an unbelievable thing to be a part of for me. I was one of the 10 people that helped pick the videos and work on all the shows. And I was in there, fighting for artists. And it was every format. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was for MTV Raps, 120, Alternative Nation, that show Matt Rock, which was my show.
Oh, yeah,
It
yeah.
became an offshoot. It really was Headbangers Ball, but with better graphics.
Right.
I mean, even though it's like,
Right.
because Austin did all that stuff that he ended up doing with Adult Swim and the Sci-Fi
I'm
Network.
like, this is.
Yeah. So I would
Ton.
just, so it was, but anyway, so I'm in the radio station, and it turns out that even though we're a small radio station in a house, like the woman who owned the station lived in the house, in the other part of the house, it was up a gravel road, and here's
Typical
the FM
small town station.
small town,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Asbury Park, which is a big music area. Obviously, you got Springsteen
Bruce.
and everybody from there, and Bon Jovi and people playing there over the years. But it was one of those things where I found out about it, and I was like, somebody walked into a record store and said, "There's this new station. You got to be on there, man." And so I went down there. I made him a demo, and I did weekends for a long time. And then, as I said, I became music director because a guy came in from another big station, HFS. So they changed management,
God.
and they go,
The festival.
"Yeah, remember the great festival?
man,
They resurrected it, by the way, which is
Oh,
crazy.
really?
The festival, yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing it with Postal Service and Death Cab, but it was really wild because I went down. Yeah, I was so happy because the owner, who was this woman who was really eccentric and really interesting, and she had her cats running around the station, and
Kind of a goody
Yeah,
though.
like-
Didn't no swearing on the records.
yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah, it was big time. So
Yeah.
she told this guy Michael Butcher, who came from HFS, who was a PD. She goes, "Before you pick a music director, there's one more person I think you need to meet." And then he met me and said he was going to give it to somebody else.
Right.
So that changed everything at first. And then, I won those awards. I was doing afternoons on the radio and middays running this radio station. And I became friends with the MTV people because I would see them at shows in New York. And they'd go,
Andy.
yeah, like Andy was a little later, but it was like, Kurt Stefik and Patty Luzzi and Amy Finnerty and all those folks.
How often were
Yeah.
you going to shows
And
at
I-
this point? Like there must have
All
been...
the time, like I am
Yeah.
now. Guys,
Right.
it's funny. Tonight I'll be at Chains Addiction and Love and Rockets. Tomorrow I'll be at
on.
Foster the People. Thursday night I'll be at 10cc because I love like 70s pop too.
You
So,
walk into places and they're just like, "Oh, hey, Matt." Like they don't even check for. They're like, "What's up?" Just,
some places.
you want your spot?
Like when I got hit by the car,
Yeah.
like every venue in Los Angeles was like, "Matt's coming in back door," because I was like, I'm on a walker.
Were you really on a walker? Go,
Right.
like, going
yeah.
to shows?
bad.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
really bad.
It
Yeah,
was
it was
bad.
unbelievable. So, and as soon as I got out, I went to, because I was very close to Chris Cornell, so I went to his tribute show. Then I went to the Alt 98.7 show, and of course, the Killers dedicated all these things that I've done to me that night. And they were like, "Dude, let's see those photos of your head ripped open from the accident." Fan of flowers. And Ronnie Benucci's like, "I've got to see the photos," because I have photos of like my head torn open
Yeah.
from going through as a pedestrian being hit.
Yeah.
And
Where did you get hit? It was in
well,
L.A., right?
Yeah, it was in L.A. And the thing was, the person was either texting or on the phone or just not paying attention. But I think the blessing was that I was turning left, turning right, and it was unusually quiet on Franklin Avenue at night around 6:45, 7 o'clock. And I remember I was at like a Thai place and a coffee shop, and I'm crossing the street, and I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty clear. And I go like this, and I turn, and all of a sudden I see out of the corner of my eye a car just gunning towards me. I had a split second, so I jumped up, which is the thing I think that kept me from getting crushed under the car. So it snapped my leg in half. It like literally down the bottom part of my leg was like compound fracture, bone out. I went through the windshield with my head. So I was catapulted into the car, but it happened so fast. I didn't even know I went through the windshield, but I was conscious in like adrenaline shock, flying over the hood of the car. And I landed on the street. But I like remember my senses being so heightened that I could smell the engine. I could feel the heat of the engine as I'm flying over it. Strangest thing ever. And then I sit, I'm laying there, and of course I actually try to get up, and then I notice my leg is like this, like a pretzel. And they never found my shoes. I hope they ended up on somebody that needed them. You know what I mean?
Were your favorite sneakers?
Yeah, like with sneakers. So they always get
Matt
knocked off.
sneakers.
Yeah,
like Vans or something.
Yeah, they were. They were. Yeah, exactly. So the thing was, they were gone, but my phone they found because it was in my hand. So there was a neighbor who recognized me. Some neighbors didn't recognize me. They thought because I had a beard at the time, and they were like, some guy got hit with red hair and a red beard, and that was blood. Like my head.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So.
Wow.
The crazy thing was, when they finally came, thank God it wasn't the femoral artery because you bleed out in 5 minutes, and they took like 9 minutes, and people were on the streets calling, and the fire.
But you went through this even when you were. This is a second head injury that you've had.
Yeah, because I had an
first one you almost
aneurysm when I
died.
was
when you were 16.
Yeah, 15, right?
Yeah.
So that's that real sweet spot, and I say that sarcastically, between junior high and high school. Nothing worse than showing up the next year with like train tracks on your head in the 70s. There was no bald heads and no punk rock yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like
You were the originator.
Yeah.
You started punk rock.
Thank God I found it, right?
Yeah,
because I had a lot of pent up anger for that whole why do I have an aneurysm?
Yeah.
But thank God this girl saw it in my homeroom towards the end of this year. And, we were talking about being in bands, and I was in this band, Thunderhead, and we played all the dances, and we played, the teen center. And, I was the lead singer, and it was like, I had hair, very thin, by the way, but I had hair. Yeah. There's pictures that are really funny.
I've seen those pictures.
Yeah, you've seen them. Aren't they funny? Yeah, I've got like this shirt on that's so
great,
70s.
dude. It's great.
You know what I mean? They're hilarious. There's like one dude who looks like Stevie Ray Vaughan, the guitar player, Joe Monchek, like in like the 1970s. It's hilarious.
It's always strange, too, when you see somebody that you've known for most of their life without hair, with hair again.
Yeah.
Or even back then, you look at it like, that is so, it's like seeing somebody's kid, that like your kid, looks just like you, and you're looking at it going, oh, that's so weird.
And he has a mustache now. It's the weirdest thing. He's 23, so it's like looking at
dude,
this
isn't
kid.
that wild?
It's the craziest thing,
they
man.
grow so fast. I have 2 daughters, and man, I love them more than anything. But I gotta say,
Shout out to your daughters.
Huh?
The name?
Yeah, shout out to Jessica, my oldest daughter, and my youngest Maya. They're from 2 different moms, but I love them. Amazing,
And if Jessica and Maya are listening right now, Matt's about to tell a story about Billy Idol and him doing blow backstage.
Oh, they know all about it. They know. The thing is, they know all that.
It's a great story, though.
Yeah, it's a really funny one.
Well, tell me this: if there was a Matt Pinfield tribute night about your life, who would be playing at this show? Who would you want to play?
Oh
at
my
this
God,
show?
alive or dead? It's kind of like you're right.
Yeah, anybody.
Oh my God, there's so many. Like Bowie would be like one of the people top of the list, and Joey and Ramones. I mean, because of the Bowie stories, as you know from the book, are just that stuff is surreal. You talk about, having a loving artist. I've video of me. Doing that a cappella stuff with Steven Tyler because I loved Aerosmith.
Yeah.
As a kid, and even in their second wave of hits, I loved them too. I mean, they were better live.
So sad to
they
hear
were
about his
sober
vocals now.
Yeah. That brother, Steven's a great guy, and became good friends with them. But the Bowie thing was like, first of all, in those days, you didn't have access. There was no MTV. You had magazines and album covers to look at. That was it, and a little bit of music on television. So for me, years later, when you're sitting there across from one of your idols, like Bowie, and he's asking your advice, like it's and telling you how much he appreciates your knowledge of his music and what it means to him.
What was it like to get that phone call from Bowie?
Oh, that was amazing. Well, the story's amazing because he, I'd been at MTV at this point probably a few months, and I think I should backtrack and quickly say I did that one show with Depeche Mode, and they said it was good, and it was, but I was, certainly still a little stiff. I'd never been in front of a camera before, but I had the confidence from being on radio. And the funny thing is, and I'll just backtrack by saying, when I found out that Dave Kendall was leaving, it was in a radio trade. So I called Kurt Stefik and I said, who was in the music department, programmed to 120. And I go, Kurt, what happened with Dave? He goes, he left or was blown out. We don't know. But I go, dude, you need someone like me to do that show. Like, knows the music and knows the bands very naively, and it wasn't cocky. It was more like, it was just me saying, hey, that's some. I said someone like me. I didn't even say me.
Right.
And, what I mean? Like, so, but he said, hey, man, I'll call you in about a week. I'll kick the idea around. Hour later, I get a phone call. They think it's a good idea for you to come in and audition. And that was in 93, or end of 92, whenever it was.
It was like in the heart of, that's right when grunge was born.
Yes.
With like Nirvana.
Right. And I was like right at the forefront of that with my radio station. So, I go in for that audition we talked about. I get the call from Lauren Levine, who was there for a while. And, she was at Bravo and a lot of other channels. I loved her. And she's British and just pulled no punches. Like, when it came, and she was like, you're really good. We're going to, and so I get called up to Andy Schoen's office, the guy who hired me, who I love, I love him dearly. And he, I think that they're going to give me a gig or something because they bring me up to New York from New Jersey, like to have a meeting. And I go and I sit in Andy's
What a
office.
hell of a break that would have been.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he was 93, right? So after I do the show, and he goes, hey, Matt, he goes, I want to call you up here because he goes, even though we're going to give the show to Lewis because we want him to have more of a profile. Lewis Largent, who, by the way, I loved him. And, he passed away, so I miss him in a big way. He was the guy who used to always go to people at our dinners with the labels and bands who come down. He goes, ask Matt anything about music.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, he's the walking encyclopedia. So he was the one who coined that. But he was... Andy just said, Lewis is our VP of music and talent, so we're going to, give him a higher profile. And I was cool. He said, but we'll use you as a backup. So, that day I left it off.
Were you sad?
My heart was very sad.
Yeah.
My heart had dropped to the floor. And I had to pull my act together because I was doing a job with the band The Waterboys for Geffen Records. So I had to go and meet the singer of this band and tape a thing and then produce and edit and mix like an interview CD, and I got hired by a guy who ended up, doing the Beats headphones with Dre and with Jimmy Iovine. So I remember doing that, and but what I did was I would call Andy and leave. There was no internet or anything. I would leave a message like once every, I don't know, month and a half. So we just see my name on that phone list.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. So, and I don't even know if I really even thought of it that deeply. I just like, I don't want him to forget me, So and eventually I ran into Kurt again. He goes, come to my barbecue and meet Andy and everybody's going to be there. And, I'd already become friends with a lot of them. And so I went to the barbecue in Long Island and just like hit it off with, it was the 4th of July. And Andy said to the other guys, he goes, we got to find a spot for Matt in the music department, man. This is guys, so, and it was, that's so.
I came in as a programmer.
Yeah, I came in as manager of music programming.
I had no idea. So I always thought you were just on air talent. I was like, just this DJ from New Jersey that came in, and because he knows everything there is to know about music, they just put him on 120 minutes, and a guy's a rock star. But you started MTV not just from the 120 minutes with Depeche Mode in '93. You became the programmer.
Yeah,
you were basically, because you knew the music and you were helping MTV go through from the was it hair metal to grunge.
It was that period of time, and gangster rap and there's a lot of good R&B and pop. There was everything, And it was a great thing for me, and I think it always surprised people too. And I'd talk to people at labels and I'd ask them about some like R&B record, and they go,
"How do you know?
You like that? You know about that?" I'm like, "Of course I do. I love music. You know what I mean? I'm like, I remember a perfect example is Desiree before you Gotta Be. She had a more like jazzy song called Feel So High. And I was like, it was on a sampler. And I said to the rep from Epic, I go, dude, that Feels So High song. He goes, really? And he told David Massey, who is, you know, big record company president, now A&R guy, started A&R, that I asked about it. And he was like, it really shocked them that somebody that was in like an alternative radio format, like even cared about that. But
did you ever get wooed by any labels? Because it seems like you know so much about music, so much about the business, and if you saw Desiree before her big "You Gotta Be" song, wasn't there any labels coming to you like, we need this guy, like you're like the Moneyball guy that sees the figures and sees how things work? Because being on air is great. We've always loved you on air because you've got a great personality, shows through on that. But your mental, your skills game is like on point, I would figure.
Yeah, I eventually did end up doing A&R for like over 6 years. Almost 7 at Columbia Records. I got hired. And
you're
David
the one that sent the papers out to say you could get 12 CDs for
yes, that's
12
it.
cents.
Well, I didn't tell him how many times I changed the names on those and got more records.
Was that after Farmland? Is that
Farm Club? Yeah.
Farm
after
Club,
Farm Club, yeah, which with Jimmy Iovine, and it's amazing. Yeah, USA Network.
Jimmy Iovine.
And it was
which by the way, I had one for BMG. The 12.
Did you really?
Did you?
We signed to BMG, and the first thing I asked them is if they could get rid of that debt.
That's incredible. How funny was it? RCA CD Club and cassette and record club?
Yeah. I couldn't afford it.
Oh my God, it was so funny. Yeah, it was like $1 for like for
1
like
cent
10
for
albums.
12 CDs, and then they'll send you one every month for like $40 or something.
Yeah, it was like double list price. What was
like
it?
a Ponzi scheme for?
It was unbelievable, and they were all out of like Terre Haute, Indiana, or somewhere like that. It was like
offshore telephone.
Yeah, it was. But it was, it was a pretty amazing thing for me to get the opportunity to program there because I just like, again, I didn't, when I got the job, because I here's the thing. The station was doing really well. It was like in one of the Rolling Stone Readers Poll, Media Market's best station, voted by people in the magazine. It had, but I was still working 4 jobs because, I like kind of like now. But it was like, but it was like, working like 4 jobs. I was spinning records still at clubs, doing like parties.
I mean, you were a pretty big club DJ.
Yeah, for a long time.
For a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, almost 13, 14 years. And, everybody
was it hard to stop?
I liked having some of those nights off to go see music instead or hang out with my girlfriend or whoever at the time, or my wife, so I love doing it though. And I do it now too. Again, like I got a call to spin at the Belasco for, the Band of Chameleons, so I was on stage spinning vinyl. I spun in Rome, like right near the Colosseum, just a few months back for that band Kaleo. They were doing a show. This company, Vertigo Live, who did the Billy Idol thing at the Hoover Dam and Duran Duran on the Capitol Records building. I do some stuff with them, Vertigo Live, and that was the first thing I'd done. And they were like, "Man, we could have used you on these other 2 shows." So the guy who works there with, my friend Ken Sorrow, who I do some work with, he said to them, he goes, some of the added value with this thing for the people to pay for the experiences could be like an after party at the club that's like right up over the Coliseum on that side street. And he goes, Matt can spin. So I talked to the Italians there, and I'm like, you guys, can you get me 1,200 Techniques turntables? Yeah. And seriously, they did. Yeah. And so I brought...
What mixer did you use?
It was
Vestex?
It was it was a mixer I'd never heard of before, so I looked it up. It's like a $3,000 mixer. It wasn't a Newmark, or any of the ones that we used to use. But man, it was such a great. The mixer was so awesome, and I was spinning 45s. So do you know how hard that is to spin records that are anywhere from like 2.5 to 4.5 minutes long? Yeah. Because I just went into the plane with couple 45 boxes, and of course my backpack, my suitcase I checked, but all the way to Rome I brought 45. And I bought some there.
Because you don't believe in Serato, or are you just old school?
No, I have Serato too. No, I have Serato too. Yeah. I just don't use it because if I can spin records, it's so fun and easy. and I spun vinyl.
You feel like a real DJ if you're flipping records and putting new ones,
and that's not to knock anybody who uses that
right.
or technology, because there's a lot of friends like all those guys over there, Skrillex and Cascade, those dudes like and so whatever people use to entertain is totally cool with me, but it's just the fun because what JJ from Cleo wanted this mix of everything from like 1955, like Chuck Berry and Elvis, to like 1980 AC/DC. So I have a lot of that on 45s. You know what I mean? So, but you have to really pay attention.
Can you say that this is probably like the most name drops
that
that we've ever?
it is.
I'm like,
You know
I'm
what's
getting
even
carpal tunnel
crazier?
right
What's
now.
crazier is when we do the show, when we have the guests on, it's usually like we're kind of pulling names.
Yeah, we're trying to
out,
get. I'm like,
and people like the reason we did this show is because him and I have had conversation just like we're having right now, where you're talking about people, and then later you go back and realize, oh, I was just dropping all these names. But really quick, selfishly, I have a huge question to ask you, and this is very, very selfish.
Yeah.
Because I'm like you, I love music.
Yeah.
But I want to know, how does Matt Pinfield find new music? Where do you go to listen to new songs? And do you think that there needs to be a comeback of rock music? Because I feel like right now I love rock
I
music.
can say that forever.
And it's a real stretch for me to find.
Yeah, well,
good
it's hard.
rock
It's hard to
music.
find it because it's hard to nail down curation because there's so much information out there and there's so many things. It's just, I think that's maybe some of the issue. And
It's a great question, by the way.
it is a great question. I look. There's so many different ways I find out about music. I still talk to people all the time. People bring me stuff. There are labels that send me emails with links to new things that have coming out. People will send me things.
But if we're
they'll
not
reach
Matt
out.
Pinfield,
Yeah.
and we don't get the labels sent,
You would go to the record stores, but we don't have that opportunity anymore unless it's an old record store.
There's still some record stores, and they're actually vinyl is making a huge comeback, and it's been for like the last 10 years slowly.
But not like it
getting
once
bigger.
was, like with Tower
It's
Records
not
and-
like the place, or we go CD hunting.
Yeah.
That was fun, by the way.
Yeah.
And
Remember
look,
how weird it was when they turned to CDs and they still had all the big bins, so they would put them on those long plastic.
the long
things,
boxes.
So you could you'd have to flick through them.
Yeah.
Or the cassettes.
I
and
just
the
remember
big-
like when
Yeah.
Napster came out, then more with the MP3 players, and we're like, what is going on here? And I was wondered like how you felt when that came out. Did you think that record stores were going to be obsolete? Or
No, not right away. I mean, and there's obviously more used record stores than ever, but they're getting more vinyl. But it's such a small percentage of how people, obviously, enjoy music today. Because young people find the vinyl thing very novel. Some love it, and
you know why, and this is something I discussed with somebody the other day, and I didn't even think about. There's a lot of kids that have been growing through the COVID eras, where it was the school was online, everything is online, everything is digital. There's a big comeback. They like tangible things. They like things that they can pick up and hold. And I've been talking about this for years, that there's a big backlash. And it's like, you remember, it's reminiscing or whatever. But kids really like it. Like, why don't we have, maybe it's not vinyl, but maybe it's something, a figure or something that's got the music on it, yet it's tangible. Like,
I think, and I think that's it too. I think, it's very interesting, there's been so many different platforms people use, and obviously, Apple Music has people like Zane Lowe and Strombo and different other people there, and and Ebro, who I worked with, they all rhymed, by the way. After, did you notice that? Anyway,
my friend Joe could go work there.
Yeah, he could. He
know?
probably could. But it's like that's why I still enjoy doing radio. Like I'm on, and people can look it up. It's the SoCalSound.org, or there's an app, and it's. I find that like I will be talking to people, and it's like, hey, I was listening to you, and it's a lot of music fans and industry people, actors, musicians, and it's a AAA format, which is adult alternative, but it plays everything, and I play everything. I mean, I make sure I always play all the new stuff because I want people to get. I certainly want new artists to get it exposure, and I do massive research on it, and then I do a lot of things historically. Like I'll go on and say, hey, on this day, David Bowie or Led Zeppelin or Lou Reed or
that's
you know,
cool.
so it's all over the
man.
place. Or the Human League, you know, like I mean,
Human
I play
League.
everything on there. OMD, like I mean, it's just so diverse. You know, you'll hear me, you know,
Lou
play.
Reed's one of your favorites.
Yeah, well, I love Lou because
Yeah.
he was like, you know, it was a thing where I liked those guys in that period of like I loved everything, but of course, when I discovered Bowie in '72, I was just interested in people that seemed to live a lifestyle that was a little dangerous, like
Yeah.
anything else. I guess the way Guns N' Roses
Against the
looked to
norm.
everybody, like you know, here's a dangerous band. It
Yeah.
was that kind of thing. And Lou was writing about like, you know, like drag queens and transvestites and Andy Warhol and heroin and you know all kinds of
Super
shit.
dark.
Yeah, it was really dark.
That was for Andy Warhol. That
Yeah.
was not heroin, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
yeah.
you just name drop some. Every person that it's unbelievable. You were friends with him.
Well-
You went to a party with him.
Oh yeah,
Andy Warhol.
Well,
It's
this
crazy.
is
Pittsburgh guy.
this is naive.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow,
I see,
Andy
that's
Warhol.
right. You're from
Wow.
Pittsburgh
Yeah.
too, because you know, but Andy Warhol thought I was funny. So like, I'm in my friend, this guy Jerry Price, his dad, like you know, real estate is so like, and we realize that as adults now,
Yeah,
but
right.
but you know, when you're a kid, you don't realize that the reason why we're getting free access, not every time, of course, we're buying tickets too, but when I was going with Jerry to shows at the Palladium, where that's where I went and saw the Clash when Paul Simon, smashed his
the
bass on the
Clash.
cover. I was at that show, on the
Yeah.
cover of London Calling. I saw like the Police there and Thin Lizzy and so many people. And so Andy Warhol was at this Boomtown Rats show, and
You were sly, by
Yeah.
the way. You were so sly.
it was funny because, I'm walking the hallway and I'm just like, I'm so naive. I just go, Andy, it's great to meet you. Hey, man, I love that cover you just did, that artwork on the Rolling Stones double live album, Love You Live. It's like these cutouts of the Stones. And he thought he's so funny. He goes, you guys going to the party? And I'm like, yeah, of course we are. So me and Jerry get in his car service, his limo thing, and go with him to the party. Well, it turns out that the woman who was handling the guest list outside, this PR person, I had called up to try and like get David Bowie or somebody when I was like 16 or 15 to do an interview. I was making stuff up. It was like fake it till you make it. It was like, I want to interview this person. Pete Townsend's already agreed to do it. So, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was like,
yeah.
these things didn't
Hustler.
exist. I was just hustling because you didn't have ins back then. If you didn't know somebody.
So you went to the party with him.
We went to this party with Andy Warhol. And the funny thing is, so then him and his partner, the guy they go in together. And I walk up. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, how are we getting into this party? Yeah. What they saw us get out of the car with them. So they were cool. And I just walked up. I said, she goes, yeah. She goes, you with Andy? I go, yeah. And I heard someone go, Vicky Rose. She goes, oh, Vicky, you know me, Matt Pinfield. We've talked on the phone before. She goes, oh yeah, Mac, yeah, go ahead. So we walk in, we go in, and Rick Derringer is like drunk at the bar, and then Andy Warhol is sitting in the back with David Johansen from the New York Dolls, and who became Buster Poindexter.
Yeah, Buster Poindexter.
And
one of my
so
favorites.
it's cool. So they were. So then we went in and sat with him for a little while, but it was like so wild that we talked our way into. And he just thought. I think he just. I made him laugh. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Did you ever have this moment
yeah.
where because you were just a 15, 16-year-old kid, you weren't even famous yet. So when you've met all these stars prior to becoming Matt Pinfield from MTV 120 Minutes and everything else that you've done in your career, did you ever have a moment where they were like, I remember you were that kid that used to annoy the hell out of us all the time?
Well,
or
what's odd is like, I've told people later on about that, and they're blown away. Like they just can't believe it. First of all, most of them didn't think I was that old to be at those shows, but I was. I'm like, yes, I was.
Yeah.
The funniest thing, and I still have to tell you some of the Bowie story because I know you know it from the book, but I think that you'll love
it's a great
that.
story, yeah.
But this is the funniest thing. So I remember sneaking backstage to meet everybody. I was trying to find a way to get backstage. I was like 16, 17, 18. And the drinking age was 18, so you can get into clubs in New Jersey. And plus, nobody's pictures were on their driver's license. So New York City, CBGBs,
Did
Stone
they really
Pony
card
Fest,
though? These clubs?
Kind of.
Yeah.
They had someone there at the door.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? And sometimes they'd look at it, and I was glad to pull it out when I was 18. But we were going to these shows. So Joe Jackson's playing, like his first tour. Like, Look Sharp, is she really going out with him, And in the same week, I saw the Police for $2. And they were like played like a show where they had to do Can't Stand Losing You twice because they didn't have enough songs. But they did Roxanne. They were amazing, And then we hung out with them after the show, and then it was like Elvis Costello on the Saturday and Joe Jackson on a Friday.
What'd you do with Roxanne though? Didn't you have like a whole club
Oh,
chanting?
the funniest thing was it was in a theater, right? So it's a small theater in Philly, the Walnut Street Theater, and they were singing Roxanne for like Sting was going on. It was like like a 5-minute break, and so I told them this years later at MTV that it was us. Rock Lobster by the B-52s was only out as an independent single. And the reason I bought it is it said Athens, Georgia. I'm like, that's where I was born. Who are these people? So and it looked really new wave and fun. It was that period of time. They weren't signed to Warner's yet. I brought home Rock Lobster, and I thought it was the greatest because it was insane. It was funny. Yeah. And I love the song. So he's singing Roxanne, for like 5 minutes. So all of a sudden, me and all my friends from high school start going, Rock Lobster. He's like, Roxanne, Rock Lobster. And we get a little louder, and he goes, not Rock Lobster. Like he sings it back to us from the stage, which is amazing. It was the best.
You played along.
Yeah, he was the best. I mean, he was so cool, And, I've done quite a few interviews with him since, and he's always great. But I was just... That was so wild. And Joe Jackson, I went backstage, and, bouncers sometimes would come back and go, what are you doing back here?
Yeah.
And then those people were nice enough to say, oh, no, he's with us. He's cool. So I'm walking down the street, 2011. I'm getting off my morning show in New York City, right, at RXP. And I'm going to get a slice of pizza. And I'm like, because I'm hungry, get up. You know what it's like.
Oh, yeah.
Morning show, you get up at like 4:30, whatever, and you're like, you're rush, you get there, and you're on the air, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I hope something's open. So on Varick Street, there's a place called Phil's Pizza, and it was always good as long as they didn't try to give you the pizza from last night. I'm like, no. No. Fresh buy only.
Yeah.
And then they realized, don't ever try to give him the whole pizza. But I'm walking up this street, and this is, how many years later from 1979? So it's like, this is like 2010, 11, and I see Joe Jackson, and he's coming the other way. And I go, Joe, how you doing? He goes, hey, Matt, how are you? And I'm like, oh, well, he knows who I am, so that's really cool. And he goes, yeah, man. He goes, I'm doing good. I go, hey, Joe, I always wanted to say to you, thank you for being nice to me when I was a teenager, and I snuck backstage to your show in Asbury Park. And he looks at me, he goes, I was. And I go, yeah, man, you're really nice to me. You wouldn't let him throw me out. He goes, Matt, you must have caught me on a good day. Because he was notorious for being grumpy.
Yeah, right.
But he was really cool to me. I laughed so hard. When he said,
you always found ends, though, with like artists. You always you didn't want to ask the same questions.
Because I really cared, and I dove deep. I film music in a very, I love music on so many different levels. But I really care about it. The craftsmanship of it, the emotion that goes into the songwriting, whether it's a pop song or a hard rock song, country song, whatever it is, anything, R&B that's, I love things that emote, you know what I mean? So, and I like songs for all different reasons. I like some songs because they're funny, some songs because they make me feel, get through a broken heart, like everything.
What's on Matt Pinfield's playlist right now? Like what are you into, or what new bands have you heard, and either they're reminiscent or something that you're like, oh, I see something in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different people. It's funny. I was really helping out this guy Tim Montana, who started in country, but he was a kind of an outlier there in writing songs. And Billy Gibbons kind of adopted him as his.
Wait, is he Austin?
Yeah, he was actually in Nashville, but he's from Montana. Okay. Tim Montana. So, and he's driving his own rig right now, opening for Bush, Allison Chains, and Candlebox. But he's like just this great guy that I met through a friend of mine backstage at like Bourbon and Beyond, and I was like, and then I heard his song that was a big rock hit last year, and I went, God, I love this song, and it's another one of those things where it's country with rock, kind of like Hardy does or Jelly Roll.
Yeah, do you think country rock is the new thing?
Well, I think it's one thing, right? And I like Jelly Roll's a great dude.
Jelly Roll's awesome.
Love him, and he writes great songs. Some of my friends write some songs with him, and Hardy's a great guy. He's a total. I love those dudes. Like they're songwriters. What's that?
You like Post Malone?
Post is great. Yeah, Post Malone's fantastic. I like a lot of things, man. I like, even like songwriters, like, whether it's James Bay or Hozier. I mean, because
Closure.
I'm on this AAA station, the SoCal Sound, where people can stream me anytime. Like, and it even archives my show for like 6 days. So you can go back and listen to the whole 4-hour show. And then I do like active and hard rock and retro rock on KLOS Sunday nights. It's called New and Approved, and I do a ton of interviews. And then I have a top 10 LA, Southern California like countdown of music, what's popular here in rock. It doesn't not just LA bands. So I kind of run the gamut, and I get to play like Mavis Staples on that other radio station, and I like and Black Pumas, and there's just I love so much music. I just like music that moves me.
Because to me, when one of my favorite things on the planet, and I'm sure it's most people, but being a musician, I just focus on it a little more, is when I hear a new song. That it's one of my favorite feelings on the planet. You hear a new song that you automatically want to listen to again and then again and then until you wear it out.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, oh yeah, I used to just wear that song out.
But you love when you find that.
When you find it, that first moment of hearing it for the first time, hearing changes, hearing transitions that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
And then just wearing it out and then going back and researching, who is this band? What else have they done?
Yeah. It's the best thing in the world. And I keep discovering old music too, because I know a lot, but I'm always teachable and I'm always learning, and that's the beauty of it. There's like old stuff I don't know that I and there's a lot of old stuff I do know, as you guys know, but I'm like, people are like, you know everything, and I'm like, I don't know everything because I haven't, I'm
I
still
would say
finding stuff.
you know everything. You're a living legend, and I mean to the point where you've.
I think knowing everything is knowing you don't know everything.
He knows everything.
I think that means he does.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think. Like I remember Jimmy Pop doing a Matt Pinfield impression,
and then Ben Stiller doing like the Matt Pinfield in prosthetic makeup for like 3 hours.
Was that the movie awards?
Yeah,
that he did that.
No, VMAs, right?
VMAs. That's right.
So like,
oh my god,
yeah, that was amazing because I think back about it, he was like the biggest film and comedy star at that period.
Who does the best impression of you?
I
describe
think,
yourself.
What?
Your daughter.
What? So many people have done it. Like I've seen everyone do it.
You describe yourself as a bullfrog with bronchitis?
Yes.
That looks like Uncle Fester?
Yes, and I definitely looked more like Uncle Fester when I was a little heavier.
Oh, yeah. You got in good shape, man. You got in good shape.
First of all, not bronchitis.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not bringing any of that with me, guys.
Dude, I got to say, like, I looked up to you and still do, but I looked up to you. Like, when I was coming, I couldn't wait to meet you. When Steve Kingston told me that you were coming in and wanted me to show you the studios and stuff like that, I was like, oh my God. And I didn't think I'd be working with you a couple of years later. And I got to. And I got to say, awesome. It's an honor and it's a pleasure to have you on Name Drop. And I know
more importantly, this is one of those that we have to do another one. Like
I
feel like there's so much with you that me alone am so interested in. We could have a whole season of Matt Pinfield, and still, it's like Disney World, all the parks. You can't go for a day. You've got to go back, and you're going to see things or hear stories.
When we do it again, I mean, there is a book. People can get it still in paperback, and it's.
I had to get it in hard.
Thank you for getting that. I appreciate it, and sadly, I don't read it on Audible. I had the guy who does James Patterson's books did because I had just moved to San Francisco.
Jimmy Pop reads your audio.
He should. I love this.
Bloodhound game.
I really considered it like it was flattery when people imitate, and they do it all the time. Like whether it's Dave Grohl or and Taylor Hawkins, who I miss very much. But those guys used to do like a dueling imitations of me, the two of them, which is pretty funny. You know what I mean? Kind of like Taylor and Dave doing like. And you remember the show Matt Rock I had? I remember they did a skit on MTV. I think it might have even been on MTV Live before TRL, during TRL. Like, this is Matt Rock. And I'm mysterious. Like, they were like doing this.
So did you smoke a lot of cigarettes and drink a lot of coffee as like a child?
Well, you know what? My girlfriend wants me to quit smoking. I didn't start smoking.
You smoking?
In 2017, but I don't smoke very often.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Only after sex, so like once.
Yeah, cigarettes after sex because I wanted to feel closer to that band. No, but yeah. So
I'm actually quitting. I've smoked twice.
She's also like. You got to give up the sugar-free Red Bull. That's all chemicals. What are you doing? You survived getting hit by a car.
The crazy thing though,
alcoholism.
With anything now, there's somebody's gonna find something wrong with it. Where you're like, oh, I'm drinking sugar-free Red Bull. There's no sugar. They're like, yeah, but there's this. Yeah. Well, I'm doing this. Oh, but there's this. Everybody's always gonna find something wrong with it. But man, this is an honor.
I just want to thank you guys for having me.
We're gonna
come back. We'll talk about the Bowie thing.
Before we go, we have to have you sing with us.
Oh yeah.
This is just something that we do at the end of our show.
Oh, you do?
It's
Wow.
just 2 notes.
We it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
But you're a singer. He's a singer.
Yeah, we got this. We'll carry you.
I'm not much of a singer, but I try. I've been practicing quite a bit.
Name drop. We'll lower it down.
Name drop.
Ready?
Oh, he's better than me.
I know.
Name
One,
drop.
2, 3.
Name drop.
Man, we were with a legend, singing with a legend.
Hey,
It's amazing.
you're a legend.
This is
You're a
amazing.
legend. I love you guys, man. I just gotta say, when I heard you guys were doing this, I was really excited to come and spend the time with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you guys were always so great.
And
to
this
me.
one, this one was not work either.
No, this was
one. I was like, I'm
sitting
sitting
here
here going,
I want to get
Yeah.
everything I can get
Yeah.
in, but I'm like, oh God,
I
we
feel
don't
like
have
we
enough
just
time.
paid for a TED Talk.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like-
Well, you know, it's funny because we'll talk about it. I mean, I love that you've got jazz shirts and you're looking, you know, like you're wearing, you know, we talk about Coltrane and different other people. But one day I'll tell you the funny story. I don't know if it's in there or not, but how like when I would meet these jazz guys, they would look at me and think, what's this kid know about jazz? And then
Yeah.
I'd blow away like Billy Cobham. And Herbie Hancock was like, he walked in to do an interview and he was like, how long is this going to take? And like, he didn't want to leave by the time the half hour was over. Like we were talking about Miles Davis and
What was that really
Headhunters
cool? Was
and-
it the Blue Note or the what was the cafe in New York?
Yeah.
Was it Blue Note?
Blue
or-
Note. Yeah,
or
Blue Note. Yeah,
Blue
there's so
Note?
many cool.
Oh, that's
yeah.
like down on in the
It's
village,
towards
right?
Hell's Kitchen, I think.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's
it's
up,
on it's by Hell's Kitchen.
yeah,
a
it's
little
up. It's
further
uptown. It's
But I love so many different styles of music,
Yeah.
and I love when they fuse together. I appreciate you guys
Oh, I
having me
have
in.
one question to ask you.
Yeah,
Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
that's not even
I
a
love them
question.
both, but Chris is, you know, look, but let me tell you something.
Chris is here.
No, but it's not just Chris is here, but you know what? I love Chris. Chris and I became friends that day on the plane.
Yeah.
And we've been friends ever
You
since.
wrote
We've
you
done
wrote
some
about him
cool
in the
stuff.
book.
And
Yeah.
I've seen him at South by. Do you still do South by all the
Oh,
time?
you know, I did it for all those years. They
Yeah.
had a contract with DirecTV.
Yeah.
I anchored all those. That was fun.
You know, and we didn't even get into that. See, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
There's
we
so
gotta have
much
you back
more.
on the
When I
show.
met
But
in
South by was amazing.
It was
Like,
amazing. But I remember the first time you guys came into MTV, and I was like, Matt, what's up? And I came over and said, hi, you guys. I was in the makeup room, and you guys had just gotten there, and you guys were all so cool. And
Yeah.
I just, for me.
We've changed.
No.
I'm like Joe Jackson.
Yeah,
Wait,
Joe Jackson.
I was?
What? Yeah, I know. But isn't it amazing? I think it's just like I look back and, I'm grateful for all the times, all the opportunities I've had. I've lived a blessed life. I've lived a charmed life.
And you've blessed people with your life too, which is not many
Yeah.
people can say that.
And the thing is now I just try to be a great example for people that if they want to get into recovery or I want to let people know they can still have fun. It's like I'm having the best time ever.
Yeah.
I'm here.
And
experience
you look
more.
great, man.
Yeah,
You look
thank you,
great.
man. I
Yeah.
do, but
Love you
yeah.
so much, brother.
Yeah, love you
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Love you too.
We're gonna do this
And
again.
love you, Chris.
Yeah.
Guys, this was a great hang. That flew by.
Yeah,
I
it
know,
did.
dude.
Yeah.
Name drop.